Сайн байцгаана уу эрхэм үзэгчдээ манай Syndicate Talk Exclusive нэвтрүүлгийн маань шинэ дугаар эхэлж байна. Тэгээ энэ удаагийн дугаараар бид нэр Mobicom корпорац дээр хүрэлцэн ирээд дээр Mobicom корпорацийн гүйцэтгэх захирал Kurashima-сантай ярилцлага эхлэж байна. Тэгээд thank you very much for accepting our invitation.
No, thank you very much for inviting me. I'm so a little bit nervous, but I'm very delighted to be on this program. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So you've been in Mongolia quite a few years, as I know, but I'm sure that not all Mongols know about you, and then my first question would be, why did you decide to come to Mongolia? Is it your decision or your company dispatched you, and how is your feeling now?
Okay, thank you for the question. Yes, coincidentally now I've been in Mongolia for over 7 years. It's, my 8th year has started recently. So
Already 8
yes,
years.
so I think it's quite long to be a long period to be more than 7 years in Mongolia for an expat. So as I introduced, my name is Kurashima. I'm a Mobicom CEO. Originally, I was dispatched to Mobicom because I was working in Mobicom's parent company, KDDI, which is also a Japanese telco company. And I was working on this global market unit. And then I was looking after Mobicom from the KDDI side before I was dispatched here. Then during the course of my work, my boss suddenly called me, I think we're going to dispatch you to Mongolia. So honestly, sometimes in Japanese company, you have no choice. Yeah. It's either you say yes or you leave the company. So at that time, I had no intention to leave the company. And of course, Mongolia is sometimes a little bit unknown country to some people. But luckily, I had some experience coming to Mongolia on a business trip basis before I got this appointment. So I was thinking that, oh, maybe it's an opportunity for me to try my skill, try my ability, and see how far I can go. So I basically did not hesitate to come over. And here I'm today, more than 7 years. My body a little bit looking at Mongolian. My face also a little bit looking at Mongolian. So I hope that somehow I'm being able to accommodate into this Mongolian style throughout my career in Mongolia.
What's your background? What's the educational background, and how long have you been working in KDDI?
Okay, thank you for the question. So my background is I graduated at a private university in Japan under the School of Commerce. I was sort of majoring in trading business, then trade, and then my exact major was marine insurance. Oh. So I was not on this telco side. I was more on this financial business side. But of course, sometimes you don't choose your career or what you studied. So I decided that, oh, maybe financial industry is not my choice. And at that time, because I grew up together with IT. So when I was like a high school student or maybe a junior high school student, there was actually ISDN in Japan, which is using like a household line phone to use internet, which is a very slow speed, but at that time that was also sensational. Yes. Then my high school career, there was a ADSL, and gradually this technology developed together with my academic lifestyle. And also I had a pager, I had PHS, mobile phones, and then these kind of things really made my life very comfortable. So, and I was thinking that, oh, I have experience in Japan with this kind of IT technology, but when you travel to other countries like Southeast Asia, maybe even to United States, at that time still IT was not that yet sophisticated. I thought that maybe there's an opportunity for me to try this IT market, and if this can be spread out to the worldwide, maybe everybody will have a very good quality of life. Then luckily I got the job offer to work in KDDI, and I just chose to work in KDDI. So that was the year 2000. Then since then, I've been working KDDI all my life. So now it's going to be, including Mobicom's era, it's around like maybe it's my 25th anniversary this year as a business person in KDDI.
Can you please give us more information about your parent company, KDDI? So I know that's not only a telco operator, but also the big conglomerate, right? Including the finance institutions, etc. What's the biggest business line, and what does actually KDDI do? And I wonder that why KDDI decided to invest in Mongolia.
Okay, sure. Thank you very much. KDDI is like a total ICT solution company, what we call. It originated from 3 big business domains. One is a domestic landline, second is mobile phone, and third is international communication. So actually KDDI was mainly formed by 3 big companies called KDD, DDI, IDO.
It's a 100% private company, right?
It's 100% private company, I should say, but so yes, I think so. That's what I understand. And then it started with the three main businesses. But of course, now there's also similar thing happening in Mongolia, but connectivity is not the only way to use IT. So KDDI also explored a new business opportunity throughout its history, and they started doing like a mobile banking. They also have some shares in like life insurance company, general insurance company. Also, they have some software company, platform company. So now, basically, KDDI is like an overall ICT company who does connectivity, platform, also services towards both consumer and also enterprise. Honestly, it's a little bit similar to what Mobicom is also trying to do in Mongolia market as well.
So what was the story of doing the investment in Mongolia from KDDI?
Sorry, I forgot to answer.
Do you know
question.
that part of the story?
I don't know the detailed exact what was happening, but what I heard is that at the timing of around maybe 1990, maybe 3, 4, 5, I'm not sure which year, but Mongolian government issued an international open tender to welcome a company who's interested to do mobile business in Mongolia, because I think at that time there was no mobile phone in Mongolia at that time. Then I think initially we started with 3 companies, including at that time KDD. One was Sumitomo Corporation, which is also a Japanese trading company, and another is a Newcom Group, which is also a local group company. So we tagged up together and decided to apply for this tender, and luckily we were able to win that tender. So that was actually the start of the journey. And since then, we were working with 3 companies, but during the course, of course, unfortunately, Sumitomo Corporation had to leave this Mongolia. So right now, Mobicom is owned by 2 companies, KDDI and also Newcom Group.
I see. So actually, I was a student in Japan in between 2009 to 2010. At that time, just iPhone was quite new, and one thing just shocked me, because one Japanese student, my classmate, told me that in Japan, if you don't have a smartphone, so you are considered like a man person, like without underwear, you know. So which means it's impossible to think, you know, everyday life without a smartphone. At that time, I was thinking, why, really? But nowadays, it's exactly the same in Mongolia. So therefore, I would like to ask you that, what's the current ICT trend around the world, and also in our region, in Japan and Mongolia? Is there any big gap between Japan and Mongolia in terms of the technological development and telecom operator and the ICT connectivity business side?
Sure. Thank you. That's a very also interesting question. So I think there's different ways to look at this question. So first of all, when you consider about the technology implementation, I don't think Mongolia is too far behind. For example, if you look at the mobile services, there's what we call 2G, which mainly provides voice. There's a 3G, which provides voice and data. Also, there's 4G, we call LTE, which provides data. And then soon, most likely, we are expecting 5G to come. So technology development in Mongolia is pretty similar to what the other countries over the world has experienced. Maybe there are some slight delays on the implementation years, where we see that in 3G, we consider that Mongolia implemented maybe 11 years behind the first phase 1 countries in the world. Then 4G, maybe 5 to 6 years. And then, of course, 5G, already 5 years has passed since the first country in the world has launched 5G. So, but it's not that Mongolia is way behind. It's basically following the tracks of what the other countries have been done. So apart from this mobile network, when you consider like usage of internet, I think Mongolian people really like to use like Facebook, Twitter, X, X, then Instagram, and maybe TikTok. And this is pretty much same behavior as other like youngsters and also young adults is using for communication. Maybe only thing that is a little bit different is that there are lots of like application, lots of services using this communication infrastructure. But in Mongolia, maybe still there are some companies, but it's not that's like all the lifestyles dependent on using applications. Maybe not the case yet in Mongolia. But so it means that there's more opportunity in Mongolia to develop this IT market, is what I sort of see.
As I know that none of the Mongolian telecom operators launched the 5G yet. So in my understanding, so all you guys are waiting for the government approval, right? Then when do you expect to launch the 5G?
That's a very good question. So of course,
why there is a kind of the delay?
I think, of course, the process of these kind of implementing new technologies, of course, based on the government decision. And I think the government has its own policy and its also intention on when to start launching these kind of new technologies. So, of course, the journey of 5G started a couple years ago when I think at that time CITA, former agency before MDDIC, was concerned about this 5G implementation, and we did some 5G test on one of the exhibition event, what we call ICT Expo in, I think, the amusement park, maybe 2 years ago. So I think each operator has the capability and intention to follow the government direction. So we did some tests. And then, of course, I think each operator is considering of the investment capability and also the opportunity how to launch 5G in the market. But I think the government also having maybe some difficulties to try to judge when is the appropriate timing to launch. But of course, already maybe 2 years has passed since the first test. So I think everybody should be now ready. So, and I think also the market is a little bit waiting for this 5G execution. So sooner or later, maybe within a couple months or maybe within 1 year, we're sort of expecting this 5G to be launched. And one advantage of a little bit deploying some technology a little bit later than globally is that new technology usually takes time to get adopted.
Yeah.
So sometimes you predict the use case, but the real use case does not appear as it expected. But throughout the years of experience, they develop these new solutions, new ways to use this, utilize this technology. So as I mentioned, that 5G has been launched already 5 years globally. So I think I also see there's lots of use cases, both on the consumer side and also the enterprise side. So that's what I think Mongolia can take advantage. Just copy the good use cases, bring it here, and make the technology develop further for Mongolia.
So you already invested in the first phase of investment in 5G network and infrastructure, yeah?
Yes,
Mobicom. And in Japan, are you using, almost now I start using 6G or 7G?
Oh,
not yet.
No, not yet.
6G, Chinese guys,
Chinese guys, they call 5.5G. It's like a little
5.5G.
bit the advanced technology of 5G. But 6G, now this globally situation is that people are starting to talk about it. But I think the current situation is that until 2030, the standardization of 6G will not be established. Then from there, I think people will start creating business cases or implementing technology globally. Because I think still there are a lot of countries not just Mongolia, there are a lot of countries in the world still not implemented 5G. Of course, it's expanding year by year. Even in Africa, Middle East, 5G is starting to run. And even in Central Asia, like Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, I think they're starting to do the trial. Some of them are already prepared for commercial launch. So gradually, I think it's now the momentum of 5G to be implemented. So I think, as I mentioned, that Mongolia still has a good opportunity to utilize this 5G to make Mongolia IT economy developed.
So you touched very important point. So what was I expecting to ask you? That was telecom operators, this 5G usage is not only for the retail and individuals, but also enterprise, the B2B business. Nowadays, this space exploration, AI, those kind of the big technologies going on. I think the main platform backbone is, I expect, the 5G more in the industrial usage. How do you see the market opportunity in Mongolia, especially on the enterprise side, if we start using the 5G?
Sure. Okay. That's another also very important question. So I think in means of enterprise, we need to look at different ways. That one is that there's some large company who has the capability to invest into IT, like maybe mining companies, maybe commercial banks, maybe even government, 2G, not just to be to government. So these three all has an opportunity to utilize 5G, especially on mining. I think the most famous 5G solution for enterprise, what we call smart mining solution. Right now, when you go to the mining pit, there are a lot of drivers driving heavy-duty trucks, going down the pit, carrying the coals or maybe gold, or bring it up to the pit, and then also deliver to the border. So, but these jobs, something we need to be careful about health and safety. Because of course, mining is, I don't say it's not safe, but there are cases that you may get injured, maybe the truck falls down. So using IT to prevent these kind of potential casualty is one way to use IT properly. But can you do it in 4G? I don't say no, but I think it's very not suitable because of 5G can carry out more high volume of data. It's more speedy, latency is low. So it can do more like a simultaneous communication so we can control some devices remotely. So this is one example that we're seeing. Of course, and as you mentioned, the AI, that's also an interesting topic. And when you want to really utilize AI, that the data consumption is going to be very high. So how fast that can, same thing, that data can be carried out, it can be computed, then the result will come. That will improve the user experience. So I think that some of the use cases in globally may not fit Mongolia, but I think we also as an operator are also studying in which areas we can implement 5G appropriately. And another is that, as I mentioned, 2G. So a lot of countries and cities around the world is starting to talk about the smart city. So currently what we are doing manually to maintain the discipline or the governance of the city itself, they're trying to use IT to support. For example, put surveillance camera to monitor the traffic volume and then maybe even control the traffic signal so that the car will move well smoothly. So there are a lot of things that, and monitor the situation of the city so that any alarm, any incident, they can detect quickly rather than asking somebody to find out the report. So I think in Mongolia, we still need to really study on what areas we need to do, but I think in the larger segment, these are some of the big solutions can be implemented to Mongolia. Whereas small, medium companies, I think, still is on the verge of trying to implement IT. So it doesn't always have to be 5G. How they can use IT technology, even using maybe 3G or even 4G, to efficientate their business or make their business opportunity grow, is still, I'm seeing that's still the level that we're seeing the SMEs. So first, we probably will start with the government and maybe larger entities, and gradually it will be passed on to the smaller companies to more offer the benefit that customers can enjoy through 5G.
And many people know that Mobicom is a leading mobile operator.
Thank you very much.
But you have many other business lines, like IPTV and internet operator, etc. So how many these kind of daughter companies do you have, and what kind of the business line are you actively working on right now?
Thank you very much. So under Mobicom Corporation, we have 6 group companies.
6 group.
Yes, if I'm correct. Well, first one is what we call Mobinet. As you know, Mobicom itself is providing like a mobile phone services with handset sales and also some device sales. So this is of course our core business. But on top of that, there's another connectivity called fixed internet, like a household internet, enterprise internet. So this business is conducted by a company called Mobinet, which is 100% group company of Mobicom. So they provide a household internet. On top of that, we provide a video streaming service called Woo. And also for enterprise market, also we provide this fixed line connectivity. Plus, we are trying to provide ICT solution like software, hardware, and platforms to support the growth of our enterprise customers. So that's one group company. The second one, we have a financial domain, which we call Mobifinance. This is a non-bank financial institute.
MonPay.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, I hope everybody's using MonPay. So MonPay is an application to try to provide all the necessary function for our customers' lifestyle. Of course, we're still on the verge of trying to realize that vision, but we also have payment solution inside this MonPay application, which is under e-money license. And also, because we have a financial service, we provide also microloan to our customers, which we call MonPay Loan. So this fintech domain is another group company. This is also 100% Mobicom group company. And so these are more targeting to our end customers.
Yep.
But on the other hand, we also have another business domain called Newtel Corporation. This company actually provides outsourcing, a business process outsourcing, especially on a payroll service. I think in some companies, this kind of administrative work is workload is a little bit burden for them.
Yes.
It's maybe costly. So we can get that outsourced. We have this company called Newtel who will support to provide salary payment to their employees with confidentiality. So this is another 100% group company. Then we have another group company called Mobicom Networks. In order to establish this data internet connectivity, either on mobile or on fixed, in Mongolia, we are connected with either Russia or China. So all data traffic needs to go through these countries to be able to connect to maybe USA content or European content. So we have a group company which provides this internet, we call internet gateway or upper layer internet connectivity. Because without this kind of business, you cannot access the internet actually. So we provide these services to like ISPs.
It's a kind of wholesale.
Wholesale, yes. So we provide to other like mobile operators, even like maybe Intel, SkyTel, G-Mobile, depending on the demand. So we have this, we call this wholesale internet domain called Mobicom Networks. This is also 100% company. Then we have a group company called Mongo Content. This is actually a little bit unique, a little bit different. They provide their main business is we provide a web portal called gogo.mn, which is like a news site. And we also have an animation creation called Mamu. It's a dinosaur animation targeting for toddlers and kids. And also that company provides like event organization, and also music streaming. And we also export local Mongolian music to Inner Mongolian market. So this company is not directly IT, but they're using the capability of IT to try to establish a business. Then lastly, we have a group company called Newfund. This is maybe not exposed so much because this company provides like a benefit for employees. So this is co-owned with Newcom Group. So Newcom Group also says we have employees and we want to give more benefit to them. So we provide salary loans. In the past, we also used to provide mortgage loans to the group company employees. So this is not like for like business. So this is more like, as I say, benefit. But we have other companies who's trying to support the business execution in Mongolia from Mobicom Group.
Now, total, how many employees do you have? All these 5, 6 business units?
Yes, roughly we have around 1,800 employees. 1,800. Yes, but active is around 1,600 to 1,700. Of course, in Mongolia, we have lots of active female employees. And of course, more than half of our employees are female as well. So, of course, female have it's a life career called giving birth to children. So we have around maybe 100 to 150 concurrent pregnant ladies on maternity leave. And then, of course, when they finish their maternity leave, we welcome back to our company. Yes.
So, in my opinion, Mobicom Corporation is one of the prime choice for the young guys to work here. So I had the chance to visit KDDI headquarters in Tokyo, and a few years ago, at that time, almost 10 Mongolians, actually Mobicom employees are working there. So do you have this kind of exchange kind of working program or something?
Oh, yes, thank you. Yes, this actually started a couple years ago. Now the business environment is becoming more global, even in Japan. But unfortunately, Japan is a market very isolated, very closed, because the market is pretty big, 140 million population, lot of enterprises. Also GDP is pretty high. So in the past, they were not really focused on global business. Of course, they have global arms, but it's not really established so much. And then one of the disadvantages of Japanese people is that we don't speak good English. Of course, not everybody. A lot of people don't speak good English. So sometimes global communication becomes difficult. And because 95 or 96% of the population is also pure Japanese, we don't have this experience working with foreign people. But that's not actually the way that the global market is moving. Now everybody's going everywhere. People are working in different countries. And of course, KDDI has Mongolia, KDDI has Myanmar. They have also other group subsidiaries in like Europe, USA, other countries of Asia. So we need to have more of this diversification. And also, having a group company, overseas employees having experience working in the headquarters will also give an opportunity to know what KDDI is doing, how KDDI is thinking. So then this kind of KDDI culture can be also being brought back to their home country. So KDDI started this program called Global Mobility Program, which accepts certain number of employees from this overseas market to work in KDDI for maybe 1 or 2 years, depending.
Not only between Mongolia and Japan, globally.
So, so we need to compete in this competition. So currently, because of COVID, a little bit reduced, and then we're still on the recovery mode. So we send maybe 5 or 6 people per year. Some come back in 1 year, some come back in 2 years. Of course, we also have an opportunity that they say, oh, please extend. So we extend to 3rd year or 4th year. But also it's good that our guys in Mongolia have an opportunity to experience lifestyle and also working experience overseas. Because maybe it's challenging because of language communication, the culture is totally different, the working way is also different, but experiencing different ways of life and work will enhance their capability to accept differences among people. So, so far we see that it's a very positive impact. And a lucky thing is that our Mongolian employees seem to be very capable. So it seems that we're basically being able to send majority of our requests to KDDI so far.
So far, total how many Mongolian guys sent to Japan and come back?
Overall, I think we sent maybe around 15 or 20. So, of course, unfortunately, not everybody's back yet. So, but I can say that once they're back, they're being able to utilize their experience, also share the experience with others. And what I hear is that their business behavior has totally changed. So I appreciate that they have somehow adopted to the KDDI way, and then they accepted that way, and they're thinking that's one good way to be working as a professional.
How many other countries do you operate business in KDDI, except Mongolia?
Okay, thank you very much. In means of consumer mobile business, KDDI operates in Mongolia and Myanmar only.
Okay.
Yes, we had other countries, but unfortunately we had to exit in the due course. And our next core business in overseas we call telehouse. It's a data center business. So data center, we have I think 15 or 20 sites if I remember. So several in USA, several in London, France, Germany, China, Korea, Thailand. So and Singapore, there's multiple sites of telehouse. And on top of that, we provide support to enterprise customers, especially to the Japanese companies who's entered to that local market, which we call KDDI like America, KDDI Europe. So, sorry, I haven't counted exactly, but I think we have around maybe 20 or 25 countries presence. But when you look at real companies who's providing service to the domestic market, basically this Myanmar, Mongolia mobile business plus telehouse is the major global business that we're doing as KDDI Group.
I also would like to ask you regarding the competition situation in Mongolia. You know, we have just 3.5 million population, but now including under the latest operator, we have the 5 mobile operators there. How is the competition?
Okay, that's
Do you think is it this kind of 5 mobile operators is too many, or how many are actually mobile operators in Japan? How do you compare this, competitive environment regionally?
Thank you much. My personal opinion is that yes, 5 companies, a little bit too much is what I see. Because in any country, like this mobile network operator, what we call MNO, is basically infrastructure business, which requires investment, create a network, then provide service to customers, and customers use, and we get the money return. So, and especially in Mongolia, the landscape is very big. So territory size is big, but as you mentioned that the population is a little bit small. So it's one of the less densified countries in the world. So honestly saying, it's a very tough market for mobile operators. But of course, more number of companies encourages competition because everybody wants to be sustainable, everybody wants to grow, everybody wants to survive. So there's a competition, which means that if there's a competition, the industry will develop and grow. So in Japan, what's happening is that there's currently 4 major mobile operators. NTT Docomo, KDDI, which we work under a brand called AU, and then we have SoftBank, and then we have Rakuten Mobile. So generally, these 4 are the major MNOs, but of course in Japan, we call MVNOs, who borrow network from the MNOs and provide their own business. So there was tons of MVNOs like maybe 10 years ago when the government was pushing this MVNO, but at the end, it got squeezed down to maybe, I don't know, maybe 10 maximum, I think. But majority of it is owned by these MNOs as like a sub-brand currently. So KDDI Group has a main brand called AU, but under that we have a brand called UQ Communication, we have a brand called Povo. So it seems that network business is not really easy to be sustainable.
Yeah, also expensive, right?
Yeah, it's very expensive, yes, of course.
You mentioned that also the very important point. Mongolia is a big country, it's very sparsely populated. Therefore, so we sometimes witness, unfortunately, digital divide. However, technology developed, we are talking about now and the 5G, etc., but it's still in remote areas in Mongolia, Western or Eastern Mongolia, nomadic family, they are not really benefiting all those technological developments. And therefore, I would like to ask you about this. What do you do? What are you planning to do this to reduce this digital divide? So nowadays, many big companies, especially, start talking about SDGs, Sustainable Development Goal, and corporate social responsibility, etc. I know that you guys are implementing lots of those kind of projects. And what's the highlight, and how much money do we spend on these social projects?
Okay, thank you, thank you. That's a very important topic for this Mongolian country, I think. So luckily throughout my 7-year experience in Mongolia, I had a chance to visit all IMEX.
Really,
Yes,
21?
Yes, 21, yes.
Still, I have, a few.
Maybe I travel more than you in a sense, but that's okay. So, of course, I haven't been able to visit all the SUMs and all the bugs, but when you look, as you say, digital divide or economy divide is very high in Mongolia. Of course, center of the economy is Ulaanbaatar, and then next is maybe Erdenet, Darhan. Then there are some more economically positive IMAX versus some IMAX are more struggling. But I think what IT and this network can do is that it can eliminate distance, it can eliminate time, and it can give an opportunity to be connected everywhere. So that's why Mobicom has been trying to expand its network coverage continuously. Even today, even this year, next year, even next year, the year after, we still have our duty to try to expand our network coverage because there are a lot of locations where it's not covered. And it's true, some locations only has 2G voice, some locations has maybe 4G so they can connect to data. So I think this also depends on the demand of customers and how we try to deliver the information of what IT can do. Because when you say, oh, I have internet, of course they have a smartphone, they access to maybe YouTube, they access to Facebook. But this is more like communication, still communication technology. Yeah. But using network, as I say, you can connect to globally. You can access to outside of Mongolia. You can access to even to Ulaanbaatar from countryside. So these kind of usages enhancement will, I think, gradually reduce the digital divide and also the economical divide among Ulaanbaatar and rural. Is it done enough? Honestly, no. Yeah, because also we're a little bit struggling. What's the most easiest and appropriate way to establish this? So what we have started is that, anyways, as you mentioned, that not everybody is having the same opportunity to access to IT. So because we are an IT company, we thought that using our IT capability to contribute to the growth of this economy is more important. Then we started a program what we call Smart Education. And smart education is that we have two phases. Right now we're in the 4th year. First 2 years what we did is that we delivered some handset to some children who cannot have access to internet. Because especially I think in the countryside, family size is bigger than here. More children, but less number of devices to access, maybe only 1 TV, 2 or 3 smartphones, but there's like 5 or 6 children, and they need to get online education. So we started with this activity of delivering handset, giving data, giving content, but this only enables that one device per one person. But that's going to be taking too much long time. So we decided that, okay, why don't we establish more IT classroom? Because basically, anyways, education is important because the children are future of Mongolia. And if the children of Mongolia has more capability, they can do even better for this Mongolian economy. So we started this, what we call IT classroom, which provides like a digital board, some Chromebook, tablet or laptops, some VR glasses with some content. So, so far throughout the last 2 years, we've been able to implement 14 schools. But
all in provincial schools?
Not all in province schools, some in Ulaanbaatar, because not all schools in Ulaanbaatar also has a financial capability to invest into these kind of devices. But what's important is that the teachers and also the children have the passion to use these devices. Because device is just a device, it's a machine. So it depends on how it's been used. So we, together with governmental agencies, select schools which has the strong intention to use these kind of opportunity. And of course, we have a budget limitation. So per school, it costs around maybe around 200, 300 million Tuguruk. So as I say, we implemented 14 schools so far, but result seems to be very positive, especially because the IT can visualize things. So especially like science or maybe social studies. Rather than reading on textbook, you see the actual the picture or video. So that gives more understanding for the children, which is enhancing the capability. And then if during the childhood, they start using IT, even they become adult, they'll know the benefit of IT, and they will know how to use this IT to enhance their personal career, also their business capability. So we spend maybe around, including the past, maybe around 3 to 4 billion Tuguruk. Is it big or is it small? It's difficult to judge, but we are trying our best to try to accelerate these activities, because the quicker we can launch, more impactful it's going to be for the economy.
Also, taken by this opportunity, I would like to express my appreciation on behalf of Special Olympics Mongolia. I'm the founding board member. So we are implementing, this in remote areas, Western Mongolia, and Central Mongolia, Eastern Mongolia. This inclusion is revolution, this core program. So targeting the community, the intellectually disabled kids and young adults. And we have just done the second phase, and in cooperation with Mobicom and the Rotary Club and Goldenberg. And thank you very much again.
No, thank you. Yeah. Yes, so I touched on this IT classroom, but I think there's different ways to contribute to SDG, and Mobicom is not just doing this using IT for education, but as you mentioned, that inclusion is very important, because Mongolia population is very limited. So even one person, we want them to be able to contribute to society and participate in society. So especially the people in special needs. Of course, there are different special needs that is needed, but having them being more participating in society, having them more passionate to contribute will also help this economy grow. So one is Special Olympics support, but also we want to be able to provide a service which can support our people in special needs to be able to contribute, participate in the society. So some of them is like sign languages, some of them like more like audios. So we try to find different opportunities, try to support people with special needs. But also not just people, but also environmental contribution is also going to be very important in the future, because nowadays people talk about global warming. And sorry to say, but IT requires a lot of electricity consumption, because we provide machines, and machine needs to be run by some power source. So still we have a huge dependency on this grid, power grid. But of course some location doesn't have power grid, but power grid is also not 100% available, so sometimes we need to have a backup of energy source. So we are implementing one by one solar panels, or even purchasing equipment that consumes less electricity, to try to somehow contribute to this reduction of carbon dioxide, also less usage of electricity. So another thing we actually do is that currently, we also have a data center in our company. And we try to promote what we call cloud service.
Okay.
So cloud service is something that we provide platform, and we provide hardware, and we share with our customers. Of course, security is designed, but that will help to reduce each company owning its own facility, which consumes another electricity. Then we can bundle it together, and we can have a more efficient way to consume electricity. So a lot of things we are trying to see where the opportunities that we can contribute to the economy. So initially, of course, we want to do directly with IT, but of course, other areas that we have also high attention.
You guys recently did the rebranding, yeah?
Oh,
the
yes,
new logo, new strategy, new structure, and everything. And I think motto is I remember, like simple, true, smart. Yeah. Yes. So what's the reason of doing this kind of rebranding, and what's the impact so far?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah. So actually, we worked with your entity on this rebranding, and it's been very, I should say, positive. Yeah? I don't say super successful yet. Because rebranding and establishing the brand, getting that being accepted by the market, also realizing that people also agree that we are in that direction, it really takes time. Yeah. So simple through smart means that sometimes what I feel is that we try to tend to do everything by ourselves, for example. But it's better to collaborate with different people. Then you can synergize, you can make it faster, you can make it more effective. So how to do it smart, simple, make it simple by smart way is what we are actually aiming. And one of them is like that we want to push more digitalization. So a lot of manual works inside the company, a lot of manual services that we provide, manual operation we provide to the customers. But these kind of things also give stress to the customers and employees. But as I mentioned, we are an IT company. We should fully utilize the capability of IT, and IT can replace some of the manual processes to automation. So these kind of things is something that we are still working on, and we implement it to some level, but I think it's not good enough yet. So we'll keep on working on to make it simple through smart. So people say that, oh, Mobicom is a very nice company.
Thank you. And my next question is, if it's not a confidential, what's the current shareholder structure of the Mobicom Corporation? Because you mentioned that one of your group of companies still have the co-share with the Newcom, yeah? So that the Newtel company, you said, yeah? And then what's the shareholders structure? And rest of the mobile operators in Mongolia, also globally, not only the mobile operators, the Mongolian national big companies, they aim, to be the open company doing IPO in the Mongolian stock exchange and UB stock exchange, and try to be a public company to go to the next stage of the life cycle. Do you have any plan, Mobicom? If it's not confidential,
Okay, I don't know if I can answer that properly, but currently the shareholder structure of Mobicom is, as I mentioned, that we started with 3 companies, but 1 company exited. So right now,
Sumitomo
exited, yes. So right now, it's owned by KDDI and also Newcom. Percentage maybe I'll not talk about today, but okay, my super majority is under KDDI. But it's not that but we have a good relationship with our both of the shareholders, both KDDI and Newcom, and they're very supportive to try to help us to grow. And regardless of IPO, because I'm a CEO, which is in charge of the operation execution, and I'm not exactly doing the shareholder part at this moment. So probably this IPO part is up to the shareholders to decide. But I think there's both ways of the benefit and also maybe the disadvantage of IPO. Of course, IPO has the opportunity to raise money, but IPO also means that you'll be inviting a lot of different shareholders, and then, of course, sometimes being a little bit closed gives you more acceleration on what you want to realize as your vision or your plan. So, sorry, I'm not KDDI executive, so I cannot answer to that question. Do they have interest in IPO? Of course, I cannot say yes or no. Maybe they will in the future. But today, as of today, yes, we are not IPO. That's for sure, yes.
Very classic Japanese answer.
Nice.
And my next question is, you've been here in Mongolia almost 8 years, as an expat. And besides this, you are leading this Mobicom Corporation as an individual person. How do you see Mongolia-Japan's cooperation and the bigger picture? So to remind you some of the facts, so Mongolia-Japan, we established our very first diplomatic relationship in 1972. Then we extended our comprehensive partnership agreement in 1996. And finally, like 14 years ago in 2010, so we agreed to be, to have the strategic partnership. So, but except Mobicom, KDDI, and also, of course, Toyota, so we have a few dealers. So I don't really see other, big Japanese companies actively working in Mongolia. Then how do you see the individual, not as a CEO of Mobicom, how can we expand our, this not only business economic relationship, but also cultural and social things?
I see. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so as a Japanese, I hope that Japan will be more engaged and more collaborative Mongolia. But I think the relationship with Mongolia and Japan is pretty developing. I think at the initial stage, even before Mobicom, KDDI and Sumitomo decided to enter to Mongolia through Mobicom, I think a lot of cooperation was done through like a governmental level, like JICA, ODA. So they build schools, and I heard some of the main bridges are also built by Japanese companies. Also lately, that new airport is also collaboration between Mongolia and Japan. So a lot of, I think, infrastructure layer has a lot of connection between Mongolia and Japan. Then in means of a private company, as you mentioned, that not so many Japanese company has established their presence here and also started a local business. But there are plenty of Japanese companies who is actually doing business, which is not really visible to the mass consumer market. There are some companies who provide cement, and there are some. Of course, there are a lot of people who's doing like a Japanese restaurant in Mongolia. So, but when you consider like maybe you're imaging more like a big company like maybe Sony or these kind of like well-known brands coming to Mongolia.
At the Hikuyen shop you have here.
Yeah. Daiso, yes, Daiso and Can-Do we have. Yes. So, yes, the cooperation and people entering into Japan is increasing. Are they coming by themselves? Sometimes no, because they are looking for a Mongolian partner. It's like a franchisee business. So lately, I don't know if you try, but there's a few Japanese restaurants called like Yoshinoya, Matsuya, who provides a beef bowl chain restaurant. So they're a franchisee, and they're run by a Mongolian, I think, entrepreneur. So is Japanese company itself coming by themselves to Mongolia? Maybe not really, but there are lots of consumer brands and consumer like retail and also food. This kind of company is somehow bringing this Japanese brand to here. So I think this maybe trend will a little bit continue, because when you look at the market, unfortunately, Mongolia is only 3.5 million population, and Ulaanbaatar is maybe around half, maybe 1.7, 1.8 million. Then when you consider that, so honestly saying as an individual, it's like one main city in Japan. So unfortunately, when you look at the business, people always look at the market size and opportunity. Then of course, the economy is developing, but on the population is a little bit limited. Also, if you especially work in the business domain where it's a manufacturing or goods sales, always this logistics becomes an issue. Yeah. From Japan, it's very difficult to, landlocked countries, difficulty is always existing. So these kind of things is a little bit having difficulty, but I think IT is an opportunity, because IT is basically borderless. Yes. So I think even we are also communicating with some Japanese group companies of KDDI to bring in their platform to Mongolia. And also, our parent company, Newcom, is also working on this kind of what we call drone business. Also, this drone is coming from a Japanese drone platform, also from a KDDI group company. So gradually, I think people are trying to somehow seek opportunity in Mongolia. Because one advantage of Mongolia compared to Japan is that not so much regulated compared to Japan. Means that there's a more freedom of business. Of course, sometimes freedom of business is sometimes positive, sometimes negative. Yes. So it goes both ways. But if somebody wants to really expand business, I think Mongolia is one big opportunity, because, as I said, it's not regulated as much as Japan.
I see.
But on the other hand, culture is very well established in Mongolia. I see a lot of young generation, even my age, Mongolian people who speak very good Japanese, who study Japanese, who's very positive about this anime or manga type of subculture. So I really appreciate that Mongolia is very positive towards the Japanese culture and Japanese people. That's why somehow I think I'm being able to survive this long period in Mongolia as well.
To continue on that point, I would like to ask that national identity, the question, which is my favorite. So in your opinion, what's the Japanese national identity and what is Mongolian national identity?
I see. That's a very difficult question to answer, but what I think is that Japanese people's uniqueness is that we act as a group.
It's a team.
As a team, I don't know, maybe community or whatever we call it. Of course, because our origin is basically coming from like a farming history. Yeah. So when you do farming, you cannot survive by yourself. You need to get the support of everybody to raise the vegetables or create crops and stuff. Yeah. So how to survive in community is very like a unique thing about Japanese people. So of course there are different type of people, but they try to behave inside a group. So sometimes people call this humble. Yeah. Some people call this shy. Yeah. Some people call this don't know what they're thinking. So because they don't express, because by expressing too much, people may think that I'll get isolated from the group. Yeah. So my impression is, so in that case, in that sense, but the good thing is that if you work in like an organization or group, you adapt to that environment quickly. So adaptation and also sustainability to continue is one maybe uniqueness of Japanese people. On the other hand, Mongolian people is very flexible and independent in a sense. Of course, we have companies, but everybody has their own, I don't know if you call it identity, but they have their own self. Yeah. Yes. They are proud of themselves. They are proud to be who they are. And sometimes, of course, because I cannot accept you. Yeah. But still, they have their own identity. And so it means that they have a strong will. And of course, once they decide to pursue, they don't give up. But on the other hand, you need to be flexible, because I think Mongolia was a nomad from the nomad origin, which means that you need to be able to adjust to different types of situation quickly. So sometimes they give up quickly. Yeah. So I think a mixture of this consistency, agility, having a strong pride, being humble. If you can mix it and then that person can act in any way, I think it's like an ultimate personnel is what I'm sort of imagining.
Thank you. Okay, my last two questions. What are advantages and disadvantages of being an expat here in Mongolia? doing business and managing the business?
I think let me start with advantage. Yeah? Talk something positive. I think especially because I came from a country that is economical-wise a little bit advanced in going front of Mongolia, something that I experienced in Japan can be brought to here. Of course, not as it is, but conceptually, the way of thinking, this kind of thinking is something that maybe Mongolia will anyways follow through in the future. So I can sort of deliver that message, deliver that idea, deliver that wish to our Mongolian colleagues. Also, the advantage of expat is that, how should I say? In Mongolia, good and bad, people are connected.
Because it's a small community.
It's a small community. People know each other.
Yeah.
So, of course, sometimes it's good to know people, but sometimes it's good to not know people. So you don't get so much influence by others. So if I say advantage, that's advantage. Of course, that's a disadvantage, but in a sense, that's an advantage in expat. Of course, disadvantage is that I'm not originally Mongolian, but we are providing business to Mongolian society, consumer enterprises, which means that you need to know who Mongolians are, what Mongolians think, and tendency of Mongolians in order to provide the right answer to their demand. So this part, of course, I can guess, but is it concrete? Sometimes you are not sure. So of course, that's why I have my team who will help me to make that judgment. So, but also on the other hand, as I mentioned, that I don't know Mongolian people in the community as much as others. Of course, throughout my 7 years, I've been able to expand my human network inside Mongolia, which is also very appreciated for me that people accept me to be in their community. But these things is sometimes, I think, the disadvantage of being an expat.
Yep. Then you can call me if you need anything. You know?
Of course I will. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, last question.
Sure.
So we talk a lot about this technological development and 5G, all those, these advancements. But nowadays, as a parent, so I have kids, and as a parent now, the biggest challenge and problem is the addiction of this mobile usage and social media, especially for our children. Yeah. Then, what do you think about this social media, heavy consumption, and sometimes we call it an addiction. Yeah. So how can we implement this kind of, not only the children, even the adults, kind of this responsible and efficient usage of this modern technology?
Sure. Actually, that issue is not just in Mongolia. It's everywhere. Even my kid in Japan is facing the same issue. So I think the biggest part is that to understand the benefit and also the risk of using these social media or IT devices. Of course, IT devices and social media can make things simple, efficient, and entertained. But on the other side, you can access any time. Means that you cannot control your time properly. So first thing I think is that to understand what this kind of IT devices or this infrastructure can do, and what is the risk. On top of that, how the parents also understand this part, not just the kid. Because parent needs to guide the children to go in the right direction or the direction that they prefer. But if the adult is not aware, and then they just scold your children saying that you should not do. Of course, once you get squeezed, human nature says that they want really resist. So, oh, my dad is saying this, but I don't care. And so this thing happens. So I think how to work together as a parent and also children to understand these kind of benefit and disadvantages in the same way, and then have a proper communication and agreement, because it's human versus human, to what to do and what not to do, is I think very important. Because sometimes what happens is sometimes parents are playing games. Then their kids say, oh, you should study, you should not use your smartphone. But in that case, from the kid's point of view, my dad is playing games and why I cannot play games. So these kind of things is a proper information delivery plus how to understand properly and how to show a good example as parent is also very important. So I tried not to use smartphone as much as possible in front of my kid, but of course, I'm also a little bit addicted to IT devices, so that I should also be careful on how I behave as well.
Okay, thank you so much, and thanks again. We appreciate for accepting our invitation. Then I wish you all the best, not only for your personal career, but also for your whole business in Mongolia.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.